Hello, my name is Antonio Valente, and for 25 years, I've been working in financial services as a trusted resource to help individuals, families, and companies create and protect their legacy. Now, most people think being a wealth advisor is about stocks and bonds or even what's happening in the market today, but it's not. It's about helping people create and protect their legacy. And it's been my experience that most successful people or families are driven by living a life of purpose. And that's the secret ingredient in creating your legacy. So gear up. We're about to climb the Legacy Summit. Friends, thanks for tuning in. This is episode 8 of the Legacy Summit, and as a reminder for our first-time guests, I'm a wealth advisor based in Dallas, Texas, and we service clients across the country. This show is not about investing. It's not about money. It's about living a life of purpose and my conversations with individuals and organizations that are legacy-driven. Emilio, nice to be back in the studio. Good to see you. We got some good sunshine here in Dallas today. You know I love doing the show, and it just keeps getting a little bit harder for me to get away from the office to come up here. Obviously, my first priority is servicing the clients that we work with, but business is wonderful. We're happy helping families build and protect those legacies. But hey, I'm here today, and I am so super excited about today's episode because I absolutely love our next guest. And as I was saying earlier, if there was a patron saint of cool in Dallas, Texas, it is absolutely my next guest. From traveling the world to hobnobbing with some of the most well-known personalities on the planet, this man is absolutely everywhere. And while it's easy to sit back and see Hollywood stars on TV and think, oh, they got it so great and everything is so easy, perhaps only a person that's walked in their shoes can really fully understand the decades of hard work it takes to become an overnight success. So let's bring on my good friend Paul Salin to the show. Paul, it is great having you here, brother.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Excellent. Did you like being the patron saint of cool?
I was like, where is this in the notes?
Who's
like,
the guy?
You've got to be mistaken. I think my agent fooled you.
Yeah.
I actually started sweating when you were talking about financial advice because I am the last person you should take financial advice from. So,
And that's why I'm here.
okay, good. Well, if you were going to ask me, I would just start picking things and I'd be wrong. It's like someone picking a football team based on the color of the
colors. Hey, I've done that a couple times.
Yeah,
Full disclosure.
It works. Sometimes it works like that with stocks, I guess, too. I don't know. Again, last person to ask.
Paul, give me a minute. I want to share some of your street cred right with our go. So you're Dallas-based, obviously TV host, producer, editor, writer, and consultant, right? You hold positions, co-host the Drew Pearson Live.
Yes.
Super cool show, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Producer, writer for AM, FM magazine. You held positions of co-host, writer, producer, Sports Plus, Fox Sports Dallas, Comcast Sports Net Chicago, host producer of Lone Star Emmy-nominated, Bright Show, Inside Entertainment, The Drew Pearson Show on Fox Sports, editorial director, editor-in-chief, Envy Publications. I mean, I can keep going on.
Yeah, I've done it all.
You've done it all, right? Now, here's the funny part,
yes.
Okay? Because you've spent the last, 15, 25 years interviewing wide variety of biggest and brightest stars on the planet. Tom Cruise, Hugh Jackman, Tiesto, Sandra Bullock, right? But now you're in the hot seat on the Legacy Summit with Antonio Valente.
Hot seat. I knew it was coming for me.
Right, now you've made it. And don't forget, okay, let's bring that in here. There it is. I get to say now author.
Yes.
Right, because we're going to talk about your book, Going For It. I absolutely love this book, okay? It's set to launch next month on May 14th. Super excited about it. And I've read it twice already because my street cred is that I know you and I got an advance copy and I had the opportunity to read it twice and I love it that much.
Oh, that's so great. I feel like, if anybody even cracks it open, like I'm happy. But to hear that somebody's read it and read it twice. Goodness, that's great.
Okay, so when you become USA bestseller, and then we'll put you back on the show, we're going to talk about this clip that you just created about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
you think a couple folks, and I think a couple million.
Gosh, it's interesting because I've been done with this book for so long, that it just seems always like, yeah, of course, here it is. It's been years, that I've been working on this, and so to finally have it come out and actually have a release date and actually get the website for it, it's for real.
It's happening.
Yeah,
it's happening.
It's
happening.
Yeah.
All right. So I always like to start in the beginning.
Okay.
It's usually a good place to start.
There was, let's see, in the beginning. Well, okay, yeah.
What was there? There was air. There was something, right? But I want to talk about your early years.
Oh, yes.
Right? I know.
We're not going back that far.
We're talking Philly and state, right? Talk a little bit about where you grew up. What did you want to do growing up?
Phew, that's a good question. I always watched a whole lot of MTV back in the golden age or dinosaur age, depending on how you look at it. And I always loved seeing like Kurt Loder and Ricky Rackman and all those guys interview the big stars. And I just thought, wouldn't that be cool? And I remember, one of them sitting down with Jimmy Page and Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin, and they got back together. And I was like, see, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And about that time, there's a broadcasting class. If you ever had something like that where, they have the students doing the sports, the news, the weather, all that stuff. And they stuck me with the weather, maybe just to try and be funny because, I didn't look like a weatherman. I had long hair and rock T-shirts and, kind of mumbled. And, I was looking at trying to read the boards that they're holding up because we didn't have, captions. And I was terrible. And so the teacher just dismissively said, you like music, go talk to some bands, And so, me and my friend Joe, we took the big clunky cameras and went downtown in Philadelphia to the biggest, the stadiums, the clubs, all that place. Just knocked on backstage doors, bus doors, all that stuff. And came back with this great footage of us with, Megadeth and Stone Temple Pilots and, all these big people. And the teacher literally smacked his head and he said, I met bands in the school, and so I'm like, oh. And then I said, but good job. I don't know how you figured it out.
Yeah.
And so the people, my friends started looking at what we were doing and going, that's really cool. And I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So I went to Penn State and I went to the school newspaper and I said, okay, I want to do your music interviews. And they said, no, that has nothing to do with our school. I go, but yeah, people listen to music. And sometimes these people come around. They go, no. And so I was managing a record store and they started one of the first online music magazines. And I thought, hey, let's go for this. And I just started making all these wild requests. I mean, David Bowie, Rolling Stones, I asked for everybody. And then I started getting, really interesting interviews just by asking. And then I built up enough of a portfolio to where when I graduated, I had this big stack that I printed out. And I went to Dallas Morning News. I said, I'd like to do your, celebrity interviews. They're like, yeah, you and everybody else. And then they looked and they go, okay, well, yeah, you're up,
Wow. So when you were doing that, I think about my own career. I think, I've been on Wall Street for 25 years.
Yeah.
So, but I remember thinking when I first started, graduated college, and I remember thinking, I think in X years, I see myself on this. I see myself managing hundreds of millions, whatever. I see the path.
Yeah.
Did you see the path when you were starting out?
Yeah, I think so. It's almost because I didn't know any better. I just thought, well, I don't know. They got here somehow, right?
Yeah.
And then you start talking to these people and you realize that none of them had a golden path. There's some people you can be guaranteed maybe to be rich by good fortune in their parents or something like that. Right. But famous, or that's totally up to the people to decide.
It's a completely different kind of ball.
And also how you go about doing it too. I'm sure there's some amazing people that we don't even know about that are in, I don't know, Idaho or Nebraska that we just now with the internet probably, but there's been so many great talents, but the difference in leading up to the book is the common denominator is they all just went for it. They all just asked the question, and you find out that a lot of people did what I did, and they just kind of I don't know, and they just ran in and they dressed like a waiter and they, they did whatever they had to do to get in.
Right.
And they were often in places they weren't supposed to be, just like I was. And all of a sudden I thought, oh, well, you can't really advise people this is how you should do it. Like, you really should not, sneak into things or, pretend to, be somebody else or but, this was the dark ages, and we didn't know any better, and there's no manual. So hopefully this is a little bit more of a manual or a guide, or at least a reminder that there are so many people that just didn't have the path and they just went for it.
Oh, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the sections in the book because I'm so super excited about
ahead.
it. No, and that's okay. That's the way I work. We jump around. Let me ask you, when I think about kids, I think about, because the next Paul Salfin's watching this. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next person that wants to be.
Poor guy.
You're in for read the book, okay, because it's going to tell you how to do it. Mm-hmm. But I think about this, and there must have been so many people that were like, keep dreaming, whatever, get a job in a bank or, whatever, learn how to make pizza. I don't know. There's a lot of that. You ever just send them like, hey, here's me with Shaq, or here's me with Tom Cruise, here's me with, you name it, right?
Yeah. What's funny about the way I function is that I always say I have short-term memory for, for selective memory for things that I don't really care. So if anybody's ever said anything bad to me or like given me a hard time or something, I really it's not really in one ear out the other. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but I just don't think about it. There's no one I could think about that I really just want to send a book to and be like, see, I did it.
Right.
No, I hope they do see it, and who knows, maybe they'll reach out and be like, hey, I don't know if you remember, but I gave you a really hard time when you're working at Olive Garden and, thought you weren't going to do anything. And I'm sorry. I didn't think you could breed, much less write, that'd be great. But if not, it's probably not in there. It's not bothering me. There's no score I feel like I need to settle or something that I needed to really prove to anything. If anything, I just want to make sure, my parents and my kids are happy.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything else is, I hope that everybody likes it.
I love that. I love that, Paul. That just speaks about your authenticity, right, in your heart.
Oh, and my grandfathers, they both wrote books, so I feel like they're, up there looking down at me going, I don't know.
Think they love it? I know they love it.
Yeah.
I know they love it.
I don't know.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see if one of the cameras goes dark. We'll know. Sorry, Grandpa.
You do a lot of great work with Drew Pearson. Mm-hmm. I mean, Mr. HailMary, right?
Right, Mr.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about that big play and how he is intertwined with it. Talk a little bit about the show. What's the Drew Pearson live show about?
Oh, gosh. So in 2012, which is 12 years ago now, I met Drew, and it's kind of a funny story. I often make fun of myself, which people say, don't do that, and then the spiritual people say, well, you shouldn't do that because, your body doesn't know the difference between,
Oh, okay.
I know. It's fine. I'm from Philly. Make fun of me.
I'm from New York. It's okay.
Yeah, we make fun of ourselves. It's fine.
All day long.
Don't worry. My body's fine. And I think the thing is, I'm so incredibly hard on myself all the time, and so giving myself a hard time is almost like a motivator, to me. And a friend of mine, Tom, had said, we're producing a show with Drew Pearson. Okay. And I met him, and I said, well, hey, if you ever need an ugly white guy to come out and do, celebrity interviews, I'm your guy. And he laughed, and he's like, all right, I'll see you on Thursday. And I'm, okay. And Tom's like, okay, yeah, there you go. And so they put me on the show, and then they asked me to come back again, and then next thing you know, I'm working with them. And one time I said to Drew, I was like, "How did you know?" He goes, "Well, I didn't,
Yeah.
It's just like football. Like, you put you in, and if you make the catch or you make the throw, then you get to play again, And so here we are 12 years later, and I'm still playing, still my teammate. And just so very happy because he's just been such a great inspiration and just a wonderful friend. And now, he's really, going to help me promote the book. But, writing the foreword.
Wrote the foreword on the book.
And I mean, a good third of the book is HailMary moments. And that's
right.
something that we all came up with just to, what would be kind of a cool signature question? And I tell you, the celebrities absolutely love it, whether they know Drew or not. And a lot of them do actually know Drew. He has a lot of fans.
Well, his Hall of Fame speech is just was mind-blowing. You know, so much power, passion, authenticity.
And then all the trolling he did of the Eagles fans.
Yeah.
My Philly friends hated that.
Right, I bet. Yeah, I'm sure they didn't appreciate that. But I love what he wrote. He wrote, whether throwing or catching, you have to take the chance. And that right there that's the recipe, right? That's it right there.
Yeah, he always says when he's trying to explain to somebody the Hail Mary moment, if he feels like they didn't get it, he said, well, just think about a time when your back was up against the wall and you had no other choice, and this was just your thing. And it's amazing how many stories. I mean, gosh, there's a whole bunch that aren't in there. As you see, it says Volume 1 or Book 1. There's another 2 coming at least. And, when you see these stories of these people, there's people that slept in cars and crashed on couches and used their last $20 to go to an audition instead of eating. It's just that kind of thing. It's amazing just, like Beyonce says in there, it was between Destiny's Child and cheerleading. And it was really like it could have gone either way.
Way. You believe that?
There's so many people that are just like that. They had to make a choice. There's people in there talking about how their parents paid for a nice education for them. They said, I want to go and do music. And their parents are like, oh, no.
Right.
And I'm sure that happens all the time.
Sure.
And there are times probably it doesn't work out. But for these particular people, for these few hundred shining examples, it did work out.
It did, yeah. When I was reading your book, it took me back, and I told you this, like, when I had the idea for this show, for the Legacy Summit, I said, okay, I was at, we have a house out in Santa Fe. We were out in Santa Fe. We were doing some moving stuff and whatever. And my wife and I would break away and go have some lunch. And I said, okay, I will do it as long as it's not about, like the world doesn't need another show about stocks or bonds and stuff like this. There's already too much noise out there, right? But what the world does need more of is positivity.
That's right.
The process about putting things together, creating and protecting legacies, and these things here. We've had former CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, former governor of New Mexico on here. There's always that human factor, that authenticity, and that's so raw, and it's all through the book. It's all through the book, and your reporting, it's very similar. Like, and I said, like, most of the folks that have come here and we've done the show, they've said, it's just like we had a beer together. So if we were at the bar having a beer together and there was a camera on us, this is what it would feel like. That's what's going through this book is about. This is really good coffee, by the way.
It's great coffee. Okay, I don't even drink coffee.
Full disclosure, it may or may not contain a smoky old-fashioned. It may or may not.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for the audience to make a judge opinion.
Send us your best recipe,
yes,
please.
Send it over. Send it over.
Next book.
AM/FM magazine.
Yes.
Okay. It's an excellent project that you work on. It's the voice of the artist.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know, tens of millions of folks, right, that have gone through there over 15 years. It's become part of it's the fabric. It's part of the community. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So Christine Thompson started that many, many years ago. And then a funny thing happened in, I think, 2009. I was interviewing Bill Murray, which is a very rare thing, by the way. Actually, funny story, since Ghostbusters is out, it's kind of relevant.
Do it.
Bill Murray has no agent, no manager, no publicist. He makes all the decisions himself, and he claims to not carry a cell phone, or at least he didn't at the time. And so there's a number that you can call and leave a voicemail, and if he decides he's going to call you back, he's interested, he'll do it. And that was just kind of the lore that went around. And so, I've interviewed so many people by this point, and, here it is. Bill Murray's coming to Austin for this big premiere. And I really wanted to interview him. And I was the editor-in-chief for the magazine. And we had a featured spot for him. We had a photographer to photograph him. But they couldn't guarantee that he was going to do it.
Right.
And so I had to ask him myself. They said, you're welcome to ask him, but I don't know. It's Bill Murray. He may just walk out before even answering you. And I was like, oh, gosh. And I've never been nervous about anything, as far as the interview. I mean, there's people I've been excited to meet, but like actual nervous, like something bad's going to happen. No, but this, I was like, I could screw this up. And I started to get in my head about it. And I, walked up to him. He showed up as promised, and I was like, Mr. Mary, I'm sorry, I know this is not the normal way we do things, but I went through this whole thing. It'd mean the world if we could just get a couple minutes. He goes, okay. Yeah, it's that simple. And
right.
So nice. And then I said, okay, and one more thing. We have a photographer right here. He's all set up, and, and he kind of looks, and he's wearing this, like, kind of crumpled suit jacket and shorts, like, just not cover of a magazine kind of thing. And he's like, okay. Yeah, that was it. And he was just, just the great Bill Murray you thought.
Yeah.
Now, I did have a photographer there, but not a cameraman to film. I don't know what had happened to him, but Christine, who owns AMFM, was there and stepped in and got it filmed for me.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, we've been working together. And it's a wonderful, independent. She's, super independent, and does not want to take any sort of, there's so much going on in media right now. There's so many paid things. There's so many,
right.
And she was not having it. So,
yeah.
So she's definitely independent, and very proud to have a female-fronted and owned business in the media that is only what we want to do, and that's it.
So many great clips all through the website. So many great clips. I want to go back to your book.
Yes.
Broken down to 3 key parts. Okay, and I'm going to share some of the parts here today. And what I thought I would do is maybe talk about one, read one of them, and then have you expand on them. Does that sound cool?
Sure.
All right.
Do a dramatic reading?
We could. Because I don't have a dramatic voice, but, But I'm Italian, so maybe I'm a little bit dramatic at times. You know this, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Start yelling.
All right. Part number 1, advice, which is something I know a little bit about because that's what I do every single day of my life. Okay. I love the section. I really do. Because the advice that you give is coming from the stars, and they've shared it.
Yes.
And it's not an easy path. So I'm going to start with the first one. It's never too late to be who you want to be. That's the amazing Ellen Burstyn, star of countless films. Requiem for a Dream, God, that just sang that film. It's just hard to think about, film to watch. Exorcist, another hard film to watch. Yeah. Different reason for being hard, but it's never too late to be who you want to be. Talk about that.
I believe that actually comes from a note that was on that Darren Aronofsky, the director, Requiem for a Dream, wrote. And it was, and she, I believe, put it on her mirror. I believe it's in the quote, but it may not be.
Yeah.
But she, that was one of the ones. I believe she is 80. She's around 80 years old, and she does not do films very often. She doesn't do interviews very often, and I just felt so lucky to be able to talk to her because I love scary movies, and Exorcist is
we do too.
That's way up there,
Sure.
And just to be able to talk to her was fantastic.
Yeah. All right, this next one I'm going to read the whole quote. It's a little bit longer, and I got to read the whole quote because I don't know. I've got a lot of favorite actors, but maybe this guy might be my most favorite.
All right.
Is there such a thing as today? There's a most favorite. He's my most favorite actor, so I'm going to read the full quote. Okay. He's not just my favorite actor though, just because of his work. It's just that every time I see something that he says, I'm like,
is it Pauly Shore?
Man, it's not Pauly Shore. It's not. Yeah, but I'm just like, man, I get it. And everything he says is like hits in every stage of life. Okay. You've got to really want to do it. You've got to be completely in. It borders on obsessive. It's got to be the air that you breathe and the food that you eat. You've got to really want to do it. You have to develop a thick skin because you're going to get rejected. But if you're in it half-heartedly, your chances of success are that much slimmer. Makes me think about Wall Street. That's Gary Oldman, actor. I don't know. How many films? The Dark Knight, all the Batman series, Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Sid Nancy, Sid Vicious. Gosh, he's been in so many things and was so unrecognizable. And
I know,
as a human. Now, of course, we can kind of picture him. But there are many years when I was like, I really don't know what he looks like. Dracula and all that. And gosh, what a great guy too.
Yeah.
He is so humble. I've interviewed him now several times, and every time you give him a compliment, he's like, "Oh,
yeah."
It just kind of sinks a little bit. He's like, and then when he was about to win the Oscar, I saw him and I said, "I know you're going to win." He goes, "Oh," he's like, "I don't know about all that," And he's just wonderful, and someone who absolutely takes his craft seriously. And,
Right.
For what I understand from friends of mine, he has an office that he goes to and just reads scripts. He's just, kind of has this normal life, but gosh, when he is on screen, is something special.
He's incredible. He's incredible. But I love how he says, like, you can't do it half-hearted.
Yeah.
You can't be a half-hearted advisor. You can't be a half-hearted like star. You just it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to make it.
Yep.
Right. You're not going to make it. Part 2 of the book, wisdom. And this is, I'm going to quote you.
Yeah.
You write, wisdom comes from many, many years of experience, right? And there are countless sources of wisdom available to us, right? I tell my daughter, John, I'm like, the only Zen, and this is a good quote too, the only Zen that you find at the top of the mountain is the Zen that you bring there, okay? So there's wisdom all around us, all the time, and we need to be listening to it, right? This week, the other day, or actually, yeah, it was a couple of days ago, Monday, I had a former client reach out to me. And it was out of the blue, completely out of the blue. I haven't spoken to him in 4 or 5, 6 years, somewhere around there. And he thanked me for the wisdom I shared with him a couple years earlier. And he said, I wish I would have listened to it. And I'm like, well, everybody, hindsight's 20/20, right? But I thought about it for a while, liked what you wrote. It all came from that experience, right? So let me talk about the first wisdom. And this is a longer piece, too, because I love this actor, and I love one of his first films that he did. And he's out of Boston, and I went to school in Boston for a couple of years, okay? So I relate with it, okay? Having a family simply allowed me to mature a little bit and made me think a little more about my long-term goals. I thought about where I wanted to be in 20, 30 years and what kind of legacy or body of work I wanted to have rather than what I wanted to do for the next 3 months, right? Which is helpful. Rather than a destination, it was more like, how will I view this 30 years from now? How will this look in the long term? For a while, I was making choices based on what would be successful or what would be perceived in a certain manner, a certain way. I think the choices I make now are based on what makes me happy, and they can succeed or fail based on merit. Ben Affleck,
That's right.
Goodwill Hunting, Gone Girl, you name it, right?
Yeah, and he's one. He's a lot funnier than you'd ever imagine, and he's very thoughtful and insightful. Harder to get to now.
Sure.
He's even bigger, but he's. But I like him a lot. He's the kind of real guy, like the Boston guy that you'll find out back at the theater, having a cigarette by himself,
right?
No fanfare, no nothing, and just a really cool, down to earth guy. For as crazy as his life is with J-Lo and all that stuff, he has remained pretty consistent. And same thing with Matt Damon too. As best friend and part of it for many years, and they just Matt had told me, he goes, I was asking if it ever gets old, and he's like, oh well, because I keep thinking that it's that what do you call that, the imposter syndrome. Someone's going to tap you on the shoulder again, you're not supposed to be
right you're
and those guys just have that down to earth thing about them to where you could probably talk to them about just about anything and they'd be happy. In fact, they'd probably rather talk about sports or or their favorite restaurant than they would this kind of stuff. But
exactly.
Here we are.
Exactly. This next one, our mutual friend Darren Martin.
Oh yeah,
yeah, great guy. Good.
The great Darren Martin.
The great PhD author, great man, guest on the show. Did a great job, and he had said something, and he talked about being an overnight success. I'm going to share the full quote in a second. But he talked about being an overnight success, and I started laughing, and he stopped immediately. He goes, you're laughing because you went through 15 years, X years of no's and whatever to get to where you are. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that's how everyone gets to where to be when you're on the top of your game. This is from Chris Angel. Okay. It took me 18 years to be an overnight success, but perseverance, passion, and intuitiveness, right? Those are the secrets to success.
Yes. Yeah, he's totally right. You know, it's funny. It's like I've been doing this for 20-something years, and now my first book is coming out.
Right.
This should have come out honestly years ago. I probably could have done this years ago.
I think Darren and I might have told you that once.
Yeah,
or twice.
Well, Darren has been a huge cheerleader for me, and an incredible person, and really just encouraged me even when I was like, shouldn't bother, you know, because we went all through all that kinds of things. I mean, it was about to come out right before the pandemic.
Yeah,
you know, it was done, and then all of a sudden I was like, do people care now? You know, and I just kind of like, you know, I didn't lose the hope for it. I know that you know, it's always helpful to have, you know, positivity and good advice and good wisdom. But at a time when we didn't know where the world was going to go, you know, it kind of seemed like, should we do this? Then I kind of waited till people cared a little bit more about what celebrities had to say. You know, so there are all kinds of delays and just life delays.
Sure.
You know, it takes a lot. And then, you know, there's a lot in the way of probably self-doubt too. Like, are people going to care? Are they going to like it?
Yeah.
You know? Is it worth doing? And then, you know, I just got so far into it, but having the support of that is great. But I know there's going to be a lot of people who'll be like, well, you got lucky first time out of the gate. You had, you know, a bunch of people go, oh, well, you don't know how many nights you know, and this is also the research you do behind this, like trying to find all the people on podcasts, the editors, the writers, the people that own bookstores, the people at school ISDs to maybe carry the book. You know, like, this is all work you have to put
Absolutely
into. And so people are like, oh, you got lucky first book out of the gate. You got it carried in a you know, big bookstore. But like, whew, you don't know how much went into that.
20 years.
That first shot.
Right. Yeah, 20 years.
Now, hopefully from here, it'll be a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, I mean, so you're operating now in a zone of, you know, of total like strength, but it's not like it happened today. It started 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Crash.
Right. You're here today because of what you did 20 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
When we're working with clients, it's like this, you're here today because what we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? That's where we're at today.
I need to keep that more in mind because I think I'm, you know, super hard on myself. And like I said, that's
all the greats are.
Quality control.
All the greats are. My wife will tell you, you know my wife, I mean, she'll tell you, you know, oh my God, he's always there's no one will ever be a bigger critic of me than myself. You know, that's true. It just won't be that way. All right. This next one is a great one, and it made me laugh. I had to go back and read it again because it made me think, I was like, wait a minute. Did I say this? Because I say this a lot. So, like, I will tell, like, a new client when we're talking and we're just getting to know each other, I'll say something to the effect of, if we can't laugh together, if we can't have a beer together, if we can't, you know, share, I don't know, hamburgers, whatever, together, then we're not going to be able to work together, right? Okay, so let me tell you this quote.
Okay.
I have to say that my business, while it's not an easy one, is a simple one. The simple thing is that everything's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yep.
Love Jerry.
Yeah.
Greatest show ever.
Yeah. You know, that's another one that I had, you know, you hear all kinds of stories about how he might be or how he is to work with or whatever. Yeah. And so I wasn't sure how he was going to be to talk to you, but if you can imagine what Jerry Seinfeld would be like walking in here right now, that's pretty much you get Jerry.
Yeah.
You know? And then, you know, there's a reason why he is who he is, you know, it's kind of just comes in and now it's Jerry. And, you know, this is what I want to do. I don't want to have fun, you know, and then you're like, all right, this is good.
He's so great. He's so great. All right. Your third part of the book might be my favorite part of the book, and I think you actually said it is your favorite part of the book. So, yeah, we're pretty close here on this. HailMary moments.
Right.
Okay, and as you wrote, you say, quote, "For me, this is the moment in your life or career where you had no other choice. You just had to go for it," which is the title of the book.
That's right.
I love this section. Okay, going to read this full quote because it's a little bit longer, but it's absolutely worth it. Okay. So it said, "They didn't want me in the movie, The Bronx Tale. They just wanted my rights. They wanted to offer me $250, and I had $200 in the bank at the time. And I said, wait a minute, I want to play Sonny, and I want to write the screenplay." And they said, no. And I said, I'm not giving it to you. They said, fine, and I hung up, and a week later, another studio offered $500,000, And again, I had $200 in the bank, and people thought I was nuts, and I refused. I was living in a little dump apartment in L.A. in Studio City, and again, I refused. And about 3 weeks later, another studio came and offered me $1 million to turn over the rights so they could make it themselves. And again, I refused. I said, I will not do it unless I play Sonny and write the screenplay. And about 2 weeks later, Robert De Niro, right, saw the play. He walked backstage, came in my dressing room and said, it's a great show. Probably one of the best one-man shows I've ever seen, and it would make a great movie. And I said, yeah, Bob, but... And he said, I know, you want to play Sonny and write the screenplay. And I'll tell you, I think you should play Sonny, and you'd be great. Chaz Palminteri, actor, Bronx Tale, countless films.
Yeah.
Cool dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the end of that is, he said, I'll play your father and I'll produce it. And
right.
Shook hands, and that's the way it was. And what a great story, too, because... gosh, there probably are people that have turned things down and it didn't ever come back to them, or they're like, I should have sold that. But how cool is that? That
Super.
Is now a great film and still a great play. In fact, it's a good thing he didn't get rid of the rights to it, because he's, now goes around and still does it as a one-man play, and it's fantastic.
So as a Philly man, what it made me think of was Rocky.
Yeah.
The Rocky story, right? When he had the dog and he was like, no, I'm not saying it. He's like, I'm going to play Rocky, right? They were going for it.
Oh, yeah.
They were going for it. That was their Hail Mary moments. It's really what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me read you this one. This is, I'm going to say who it is up front. John Travolta.
Yeah.
Tons of films. Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Pulp Fiction came out, I was living in Boston, and I had to write a paper. And it was on Pulp Fiction. It was an English professor. He's like, you got to go watch it and do this. And I was like, oh, my God, this might be the coolest film I've ever seen. But John says he had two Hail Mary moments, right? And he goes, I think Saturday Night Fever and Pulp Fiction were my moments, because they were opportunities to excel, but they demanded a level of performance that was make or break, right? If you don't do well, it'll be fine, but it's just not going to take you to that next level.
Yeah. John is one of the sweetest guys. I've been around him a bunch, and he is one of those guys that will give you the warmest hug, hand on your head, just, come here, anything you want. And I asked him one time, I said, I got to know, like, every time I see you, you're so nice to everybody. You'll take every picture, sign every autograph, talk to everybody. And he's like, well, yeah. I was like, I made myself a promise. He's like, I was a big Broadway kid. I love going to see the plays. And there's just one restaurant that you could go to, and you could always count on, the actors being there afterwards. And he went, and the actor stood up and made it a big thing of like, you see what happens when you try and go out, and just embarrassed him, made him feel bad, And he promised himself that day, if he ever gotten a chance to be in that position, he would never be like that to anybody, and he's kept to it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard one bad story about him as far as like a fan or, business interaction.
Yeah. He's a great dude.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing I'm going to say on the book is you share incredible and excellent 10 tips. Mm-hmm. And in fact, what I call them is a cheat code.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a cheat code to helping individuals catch their Hail Mary. I'm not going to cover it, okay, because that's my gift of encouragement to our viewers here today, is that when this book comes out on May 14th, you're going to want to go out there. You're going to want to read all these sections, but focus on those 10 tips there, that they're your tips, and they're excellent. And like I said, it's a cheat code.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to have to go out and buy the book. Okay, let's share some links here. Let's inspire the world together with Sound of Rice, relatable wisdom, and let's encourage folks to take their Hail Mary moment. So it's www.paulsalfin.com. We're going to share it. Amelia will have the links up here. And that's probably a good spot for folks to go, right? Because I know on the website, it's got links to all 80 of your socials, right?
I know. I'm on everything. And then goingforitbook.com is a good one. That's going to have all the links to get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever they sell good books. If they sell good books, they'll have it.
And it'll be showcased where they sell great books.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to do something fun with you. I want to do something that I'm going to call rapid fire.
All right.
All right. So we're going to get ready to close, but we'll talk about a couple of things. Rapid fire. Okay. Well, I got good coffee in here.
Okay.
So I'm ready to fire.
All right. Let's do it.
Favorite sport, favorite team?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, I have to go with the obvious here. Football, Dallas Cowboys. Now I know.
Your Philly friends right now are lighting up the switchboard.
They're dying. And but Drew's happy, and that's who I need to make happy. So go Cowboys.
There you go.
Super Bowl 2031. I predict it right now.
Favorite food?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a basic caveman steak and potatoes kind of guy. I will absolutely go for a good steak right now, but I am not picky. I'll do Indian, I'll do Thai, I'll do whatever.
Excellent. When does Volume 2 come out?
That's a great question. It's done. It is actually done. I sent actually a PDF of it to Darren Martin, the great Dr. Darren Martin.
Indeed.
And I said, you are the whole, I don't know, every once in a while I get this morbid thing where I'm like, what if I fall off a cliff? What if I, like no one's going to go through the stuff and organize it or do whatever. So I finished it. It's done. It's handed off to him. And it just depends on how this does. I mean, if no one wants it, maybe it won't come out, or maybe I'll put it out as an ebook, or just like email it to my friends or something. But hopefully, probably I would say this time next year. That seems about reasonable.
That seems good. Yeah, that seems good.
And then part 3, I am working on right now. All the interviews have been done, but it's just a matter of I'm very
putting it together.
Yeah, I'm very insistent on doing this all myself. Mm-hmm. I don't rely on AI or someone else transcribing it for me. I go through and make sure every word's correct, because as you know, one wrong word can change the meaning. Context.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. When your life story hits the big screen,
oh gosh,
who plays Paul Salin?
Oh man, that's a good question. Samuel L. Jackson, maybe?
Yeah, I see the resemblance.
I don't know. I think that would be the funniest, though, is to have somebody that's just,
I'm thinking like a Justin Timberlake or something. I don't know.
Gosh, I feel like all these people are way better looking than me. But maybe that's good. Like, sometimes you'll see a true story, and then they'll show the real person. You're like, that doesn't look like Brad Pitt. All right. Well, let's see. Who would be a good one? Who's because I would say Gary Oldman, but he's maybe a younger AI or
I see it.
Gary Oldman. I don't know. Gosh, I guess I better think about that.
We're gonna have to think on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for now, I guess we'll say who's somebody who's like a maybe younger, kind of contemporary, someone in the same spirit. Oh, I don't know. Wow. We usually don't get stumped on these things.
Yeah,
but I'm
that's okay. I stumped Paul.
I'm stumped. Yeah,
I stumped Paul.
Gosh, who's a young cool actor?
I'm still going with Justin Timberlake. I'm going with the DiCaprio. I'm going there. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. And will I get to be shot in the film? I don't mean like shot in the film, but like, hey, I could be like the boring wealth guy and be like, hey, Paul, look both ways before you cross the street, or I don't know. You know what I mean? Diversification is important.
They could redo this interview, but Gary Oldman could be playing you.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. All right. Well, now I got to be. I can be the guy who gets coffee. Right.
Gary
This
Oldman's
is good
gonna
coffee.
be bumming out when he hears this. He's gonna be like, come on.
All right. Who do you want to thank?
Everybody. Gosh. Yeah, I mean, my parents, first of all, for just giving me such so much love and support, and even when I probably shouldn't have had it, probably given me too many chances to get my act together, get my life together in a business that's, fickle at best,
Yeah.
And of course, my little baby girl and Jonah and also Darren Martin, the great Dr. Darren Martin. We were invoking his name so much, he must be itching right now.
He must. We'll call him when we get off set.
Yeah, and Drew Pearson and you. I mean, it's every day. There's something good happens, and today this is that thing.
There it is. I'll tell you who I want to thank.
All right,
I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Years of friendship, years of laughs. Took time out of your busy schedule today, come into the studio. Paul, I'm super proud of all that you're doing. Proud to call you a friend. I'm excited about this. I feel like I have a front row seat to the Paul Salin show. Okay.
It's quite a show, and if there is a movie, it's going to be a wild movie.
It's going to be a great one. It's going to be a great one. All right, friends, we are out of time here today. Again, my name is Antonio Valente. I'm a wealth advisor here in Dallas, Texas. We serve clients across the country. If you'd like to be a guest on the Legacy Summit or need assistance with your family wealth planning or legacy, please reach out to me. Legacies are made and protected with intentionality and purpose, and my team and I are ready to have a legacy conversation with you. Thank you. And today I'm going to outro this with Hail Mary to you.
Yes.
There it is.
Hut, hut, as Drew Pearson would say.